And welcome, Hoosier fans, to another disappointing episode of Doing the Work, the first show on the Back Home Network dedicated to covering IU women's basketball. This is our 181st episode recorded on the evening of Monday, December 29th, 2025. I'm your I'm your host, Kathy Amos, joined by my co-host, Jeff Marlow. Today, we'll be talking about the loss to Minnesota 71-48. And with that loss, that takes the record now to 11-3 overall and 0-2 in the conference. We'll also be doing a quick highlight of our next opponents, which will be Michigan State and Maryland. But before we jump into all of that, let's start our show with our banner moment. And Jeff, there really wasn't a lot in this game that we could call a banner moment. So I might be stretching here a little bit, but about 2:30 left in the second quarter, Shea Chesky found a cutting Nevaeh Caffey who drove and put it in for two. And then the next IU possession, Chesky drives really hard and finishes through contact ended up making it a three-point play the old-fashioned way. And I picked those together because I thought they were back-to-back highlights of some nice driving we got from Caffey and from Chesky, where they both finished in that. And I know Chesky's been doing it all season. Been one that I've been, at least myself, kind of critical of and not finishing plays. And I thought she did a much better job tonight. And so I picked that as my banner moment to highlight at least, a couple of positive plays that we had in this game. Our banner moment is brought to you by Home Field Apparel, the presenting sponsor of the Back Home Network. Home Field is constantly releasing new schools or updating its products for schools in its existing line. And boy, with the postseason of college football really ramping up right now, they have been super busy. So hopefully you can find something for yourself or anyone in your life who loves great collegiate gear. Not only do you get great quality apparel, but you are also supporting an Indiana-based business that has its roots in the Kelley School of Business. So go to homefieldapparel.com and use our promo code HOME23 to get 15% off your entire first order. That promo code again is HOME23 for 15% off. And once again, the website is homefieldapparel.com. We're one for the team. All right. So just one quick news headline as an update. It was on the recruiting front. So 2027 forward Finley Parker, who is currently ranked number 53 in the class, and 2028 guard Janiah Cooper, who is currently ranked 18th, came to Bloomington for unofficial visits. I think that visit happened either yesterday or today. So just some nice news, positive news on the recruiting front. But Jeff, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to you to give us your Marlow's musings for tonight. You might be muted, Jeff.
I'm muted. But okay. Yeah, I hope the visit was yesterday and not today for the game.
Yeah. Unless it's
so I'm going to come. I'm really. I thought as I watched the game, I was like, "Don't be negative. Don't be negative." I'm going to be negative. This was in the time that we've done this show. That may have been the worst game we've sat through and watched and commented on here on the podcast. And yes, Minnesota was favored. Yes, Minnesota should probably have won the game. But the rebounding, and we'll get into the numbers, a little bit later, but rebounding and turnovers are not talent to me. Those are effort. Yeah. Those are focus. Those are things that are controllable when you don't necessarily have talent. That's how lesser talented teams stay in games against more talented teams. They don't turn it over. They rebound. And and I know people are going to be like, Big Z wasn't. You got to deal with the hand you're played. And B, yep. I'm still not sold that Big Z's a 23-point difference in a game like this. I'm not. I've not seen that. And again, the famous, she'll be back after Christmas. Well, it's after Christmas. We didn't see her. We are and Desanoyan went out for at least a little bit tonight to the locker room with what appeared to be a shoulder injury. So I'm not banking on her being back, and I'm still not sold that she's as good as advertised. I guess I'm still wanting to see more out of that. But I can only sum this up in one word: ugly. It was very ugly tonight. It was not the performance even in losses in the past, we saw effort, we saw focus. Did not see that tonight. And right now, this is not a tournament team.
Yeah, absolutely. I was chatting with another group of friends and around the game tonight. And at this point, I'm hoping they can just make the WNIT and get some kind of postseason play, but experience. But I don't even like at this point, they don't even look like a WNIT team.
Kathy, they're not making, sorry, I mean, right?
No.
They're not making they're in danger with the way they played tonight. They may not make the Big Ten tournament.
That's right. That's true.
Who are
too,
they
Jeff?
beating
Yeah.
with this effort? We were texting back and forth a little bit, and I'm not trying to jump off the deep end here. I really want to, but they're right now in what they show tonight, and with the way the schedule is here, and we talked about this team may be over before they get to play Purdue, and now you're talking bottom 4, bottom 5 who may not make the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah,
forget the other national tournaments.
That's a very good point too, Jeff. And we knew that our non-conference schedule was pretty weak. The two teams that we had, not just non-conference, but up until this point, we'd played in Illinois and Iowa State. Iowa State, granted, they hung pretty tough with them for the most part. I mean, Iowa State just kind of slowly whittled away at that when we lost them. The Illinois game was also very ugly. So we're now 0-2 in the Big Ten. And it's not like you have anything to go out and say, but that's okay because we can do X, Y, and Z. I think there are going to be some other games that we can pull out. And both this game and the Illinois game, there was nothing that I saw outside of Shea Chesky and Lene Beaumont being able to score. Did I say that is something that I can hang my hat on into the future? The one bright light I guess I should point out instead of being completely negative is at least Nevaeh Caffey, seemed to show up a little bit finally in that second half, ended up getting double-digit points. But there was no one outside of those three that really showed up to do anything of significance on the offensive ground. You only had one other player, Noyon, and she only got 2, ended up fouling out. Like, this is not a recipe for not even just success, but I mean, this is a recipe for a lot more blowouts coming really quick because we've talked about the January gauntlet that we have, and something like 4 of our next 5 teams are ranked right now coming into January play. I would predict that if this doesn't somehow get righted really fast, we're going to see a lot more of these blowouts. And to your point, rebounding and turnovers are effort and positioning and making sure you know where you're supposed to be at, getting a body on somebody. And I saw very little of that tonight. And I get it, Minnesota had a great defense. And, so yes, some of that was forced the 21 turnovers they had, but some of them was dumb, like overthrowing. I saw at least 3 or 4 off the top of my head of passes that went over another player's head. Like this was not just Minnesota.
And Kathy, you mentioned only 3 scores. Again, you can't win that way. Where was Chloe Spreen tonight? I mean, in a blowout game, didn't play. So explain that one to me. All right, in a blowout game, and then secondly, I'm not trying to get deep in the numbers here yet, but Minnesota had 32 more shots than IU. 32. That's almost 1 more shot per minute of the game. I'm not sure I've ever seen a stat like that.
Yeah, it was, I mean, there was, again, very little that we can say outside of, Lene Beaumont and Shea Chesky. And even with Shea Chesky, I mean, shoot, she had 7 of our 21 turnovers on top of it. And again, I don't even think I would sit here and say it was all because Minnesota's defense was great. But, Maya Mikuleski, nothing, 0 for 4. She contributed 2 rebounds, and that was about it. Like, she played 36 minutes as a starter, and we only got 4 shots from her, which she missed all of, and only 2 rebounds. I understand she's a freshman, but on the other hand, she was also, touted as a 3-point shooter coming out of high school. Produce. We need you to produce. If you're going to be taking up 36 minutes, and no Chloe Spreen, like you said. Faith Wiseman, I heard she's still out with some mystery, injury. I heard that she got smacked in practice, a couple of, like a face smack, not like as in anger, but during practice.
So possible concussion protocol.
Yeah, so maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but you can't, again, like that at the end of the day, that's what it is. You cannot have only 3 players playing scoring. And I get Noyon had 2 points, but I'm kind of throwing that out. We only had 3 for all intents and purposes. And it was interesting to me, Jeff, too, because that first quarter, they looked pretty good. 18-13, they outscored Minnesota in that first quarter. But shoot, after that, first quarter timeout, Minnesota seemed to come out, be refocused on and energized, And that's when the rebounding just really become apparent. Their defense has stepped up, and we didn't respond at all. Our response was to just keep turning it over and not do anything on the glass.
But Kathy, a lot of that's explained. 4 for 5 beyond the arc in the first quarter. They're 5 for 16 the rest of the game. Yeah, 2 for 11 in the middle quarters.
Yeah. So Jeff, why don't we just go ahead and jump into the numbers here? I don't know what else there's to say about the recapping the game, unless you had anything before we jump into the numbers.
Yeah, I think we recapped. We had a lot of notes that we were taking during the game with us in the run sheet, but it was fool's gold, Kathy, at the beginning. Yeah. It really was. We covered it. It got masked because we were hitting threes, right? But even in the first quarter, so you could kind of see the turnovers and the other thing. And again, Minnesota ended up scoring 71 points. I never felt the pace was the pace we wanted. It was very much a half court game, and that was going to benefit Minnesota all the way.
Yeah, and that was one of the things we noted when we did the highlight or preview of this game, was how slow the pace was for Minnesota, and that they were going to have to somehow try to speed that up, but they sure didn't. So Jeff, why don't you go first with some numbers that jump out? I mean, I think we've started kind of tiptoeing and touching on quite a few of them, but there's some really glaring ones. You want to start with two of those?
Here's two. I'm going to put these two together, Kathy, because I don't think they'll surprise anybody. Yeah. Points in the paint, Minnesota 38-10, and second chance points 19-0.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you throw in 21 points off of turnovers. Our 21 turnovers, they're getting a point per turnover. Yep. We only forced 6. I mean, we just didn't get it done on either end of the floor tonight, allowing 18 offensive rebounds. 18 offensive rebounds. Like, it's not going to get any better from here on out. So, I'm trying to find a bright spot. I'm kind of struggling, Jeff, because, we didn't have any very good assists with only 9, but that's because no one was scoring outside of, the 3 that we've been talking about. I guess we shot 75% from the free throw line. So that's not bad.
Only 14 fouls.
Yeah, we didn't foul as much. So that's good.
Because we weren't near anybody to foul them.
Yes. Thank you. Like, we have only been talking all about the offense. It wasn't even just the offense side of it tonight. Oh my goodness. It was also the defense, you allowed 71 points to Minnesota on your own home court. And they didn't do it with just 1 or 2 people. I mean, they only had 2 people in double digits with Battle and McKinney in there. But again, they were a lot more balanced in there as well. So I guess we could, also not a surprise, 10 bench points for them to none for us. So, I guess kudos though to Nevaeh McCaffrey. She did get her career high with 13 points. So there's a positive number, Jeff. But I don't know. What else do you want to talk about with the numbers on this one?
That's about it. I mean, it was just so ugly, Kathy. I mean, it all came down. You mentioned turnovers already. We mentioned the rebounding, and that's really what it came down to. And yes, we can talk about shooting. We did not shoot it very well. 39%. And, they only shot 41%, but like I said, they had 32 more shots.
Right. Yeah. When you allow them to get 18 offensive rebounds leading to 19 second chance points. The whole thing from, I didn't even want to stay from start to 10. It was really from the beginning of the second quarter on, that last 75% of the game. It was just a recipe for disaster. So, all right, Jeff, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's go to the, not many to choose from. I guess you have 3 players. You were going to pick from one of those, but where are you going tonight for yours?
Real quick, this is going to kind of morph from the numbers as well. Again, maybe mismatched a little bit, but Odessa Noyan has to give you more than 2 points. All right. And again, she only played 26 minutes because she went out a little bit with foul trouble. She fouled out, and also then with that shoulder injury. But she did have 7 rebounds, all right? But she also had 4 turnovers. If she had more turnovers than points, we got to get more than that out of the 5. And again, we complained last year about Lily and Caroline, especially Lily. And right now, I'd take Lily back in a heartbeat. Absolutely. I'll tell you that right now. But at least we were getting something out of the 5. Right now, we're not getting nearly enough out of the 5 spot. And that's not just on Desinoyan. I told you, I'm still not 100% sold on Big Z yet. because I want to see what she does in the Big Ten. It's easy to look decent, put up some decent numbers against some of the opponents we were playing, but she's hurt. So we'll see what happens when she comes back. But Adesinoyan has to give us more. I know it's easy to say Shea here, but the 7 turnovers bother me. Now, Lene not as efficient, but I like the fact that she got 15 shots. I really feel like Lene has to get more shots than she's been getting. And she had 2 rebounds and a steal in those 36 minutes. So I'm going to go with Lene here for the game ball, just because she didn't turn it over 7 times. She only turned it over once.
Jeff, that was the same thing I was in a game that we were plagued with turnovers, and you needed your senior guard to step up and kind of right the ship. She was the biggest turnover getter. I know, contributor is the word I'm looking for. A third of our turnovers. So I love her aggressiveness, Shea Chesky's aggressiveness, and she definitely was putting out a lot of effort there to play an entire 40 minutes. But I agree with you. I was going to give Lene my game ball as well. So I should, I guess, point out before we move on to the next one that so Shea Chesky should have nine game balls for the year. This will become Lene Beaumont's 4th, and Big Z had one from before when she went out. So, Jeff, let's move on then to the Grace Berger Hardest Worker Award. This is a little bit more spread out, but Lene Beaumont leads the way here with 4, and then you have Shea Chesky, Big Z, Adesinoyan, Makaleski, all with 2, and then Phoenix Stotine with 1. Again, I don't think you have a whole lot to really pick from, Jeff, but who do you want to give your hardest worker to?
I'm actually going to go with the freshman here. I'm going to reward Nevaeh Caffey for her career high 13 points. She was 4 for 7, 3 for 4 on threes, which had been something she had not been doing very well. And she did have a rebound and a block and a steal. She did have 2 turnovers, but I can live with the 2 turnovers. It's the 7 I had a problem with Shea. So I'm going to go with Nevaeh Caffey here for the hardest worker.
That's who I had too, Jeff. And I see in the workaholics here that we have another vote for Nevaeh Caffey and an honorable mention for Hoosier the Bison. So just a shout out to him. I thought it was kind of funny when he came up behind the commentator. A mascot. Yes.
When you're having fun.
That's right. So this will be Nevaeh Caffey's first game ball, Grace Berger hardest worker for the year. Jeff, what else do you have to say about this game? Anything you want to do to kind of wrap this one up?
No, I want to put this one out of my misery as fast as possible.
Yeah. That's right. Well, let's talk real quick around the Big Ten. Now that we're really starting to get into conference games, we have some big games starting out with us. So Sunday, the 28th, number 4 UCLA went into Ohio State, who was ranked 21st, and beat them 82-75. That was the Lauren Betts show for sure. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but I watched some pieces here and there, and boy, she looked really good. Just earlier today, number 19 USC went over to number 23 Nebraska and won that game 74-66. And then Thursday the 1st, number 20 Nebraska travels over to number 14 Iowa. And then Saturday the 3rd, number 17 USC is going to number 4 UCLA. Anything, Jeff, on any of those you want to kind of talk about, or you want to jump into our opponents?
Well, first of all, kind of segue. A couple nice road wins for USC and UCLA. I watched a little bit of that UCLA game with Ohio State. I think it was pretty competitive, though. I didn't see the final stats, but it was quite a competitive game. So kudos to Ohio State, because I really felt like UCLA would go in there and win maybe 15 or so, and Ohio State, that was a competitive game for a big chunk of it. And so, and again, I didn't watch all 40 minutes of it, but Kevin McGuff was, I watched a few segments here and there, and at one point I caught Kevin McGuff was really worked up on the sideline. So you knew it was tight. It was intense. So, but we'll go with, from there. So I'll kind of segue on in here with the upcoming schedule. Thursday, January 1st, noon Eastern, 11 Central on BTN. Michigan State's coming into Bloomington. 11-1. They're 0-1 in the league. Their only loss so far is to Wisconsin, a 78-64 decision. That's kind of a little bit of that's a surprising one, because you didn't think Wisconsin was going to be an upper half of the Big Ten team, and they beat Wisconsin, or excuse me, they beat Michigan State by 14. Michigan State led by Grace Van Sluten with 14.5 points per game, 5 rebounds a game. Kennedy Blair at 12.6 and 7 rebounds a game. And Rashonda Jones, former Purdue kid, 11.5 points, 4.3 assists. And then they've got 3 others who are averaging right around 10 points a game. So this Michigan State team is one that I like them. I really do as an opponent. And I know it's going to be a tough game, but I really like the personnel they have. That's why that Wisconsin game really surprised me.
Yeah, I was too, although I think Wisconsin maybe might be turning it around just a little bit. I think they've been playing a little bit tougher here, so we'll keep an eye on them and see how they go. But so Jeff highlighted the individual stats here. Interesting is that they have 5 people averaging double-digit points right now, and only 3 people have started all 13 of their games. So I wonder if they're still kind of tweaking with their lineup, or if they figure that out. I didn't dig real deep into it. They might have some injuries as well that might be going on. But as a team, I'll just cover those stats real quick. They are 8th in both the net and on her hoop stat. They are scoring at a ridiculous 92.2 points per game as of right now, which is good for 6th in the nation, but are only allowing 53.5 points per game, which is 17th. They're shooting 52.1% in field goal, which is 5th in the nation, and 1st in the nation in 3-point percentage at 40.9, so almost 41% from 3. They only allow 36.4% field goal shooting, which is 56. A little susceptible in the 3-point at 27.6 at 82nd. And they don't give up a lot of threes, or they do give up a lot of threes, rather 33.1%, which is 270th. They're out rebounding the other teams by 6.1. And right now, turnovers, again, they take care of the ball at 11.2 turnovers, which is 11th in the nation, but they're forcing 24.2, which is 13th in the nation. So some of those, Jeff, kind of, again, worry me, right? And the 2 that I'll pick on are the 2 that we saw tonight: turnovers and rebounding margin. And right now, Michigan State is forcing a lot of turnovers. They're not letting their opponents score a lot, and they're putting the ball in the hoop at a very quick rate and out rebounding. And all of those things right now, based on the team we've seen tonight, based on the team we saw against Illinois, is not a good recipe for us unless we can figure out something real quick.
And they're scoring 90 points a game. This isn't a walk-it-up team.
Yeah, and it's a fast pace too. Yeah. So it's great that,
by the way,
they're – yeah, go ahead.
I just say, hopefully this will be a better lead in, because there's no offense, but there's obviously a game that most of us are more worried about watching on Thursday.
Yes, right.
Later in the afternoon, and so, I hope the women give us a really good lead in before that, big game that starts on ABC a little bit later in the afternoon.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So those are the worrisome things here with me on Michigan State. As of right now, again, maybe I've just got hangover from what I just saw tonight, but it also goes back to that Illinois game too, Jeff. I'm concerned about how we're going to stack up to these top level teams in the Big Ten. And this is one that I'm afraid of. We're going to go 0-3 and lose another home game as of right now, unless they find some answers real quick. But any other thoughts on the Michigan State game? I too will not be able to watch it.
I'll piggyback with what right now, this team is in danger of facing a lot of blowouts, because if they don't get the turnovers and the rebounding somewhat fixed, and I'm not expected to be 100% cured, but they can't give up 18 offensive rebounds. They can't turn it over 21 times. And like you said, just some of the silly, unforced turnovers that they had tonight, those have to be eliminated. And, tonight, tomorrow morning, somewhere there really needs to be a meeting on, not even the coaching staff, the players themselves have to get together and be like, that's not acceptable. We can't, that's got to be the low point. But right now, Michigan State and Maryland are both capable of coming in and just wiping us out and blowing us out of the gym. And then so that'll take us into Sunday at Maryland in College Park, 6:00 Eastern, 5 Central on BTN. Maryland undefeated right now, 13-0, 1-0 in the league. They beat Minnesota in 2 overtimes, 100-99 back in early December.
Minnesota.
That was at Minnesota. They're being led by Uchi Okinawa, shooting guard that transferred in from Duke at 15.5 and 5 rebounds a game. And then name we know, Yarden Garzone has kind of righted the ship a little bit. She's now averaging 12.6 a game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Sailor Poff Barger at 11.4 and 6 rebounds. Addie Mack, 11.9 points per game. And now they have lost Kayleen Smickle to a knee injury. She's out for the year. She played 7 games and was averaging 13. So we'll see how that affects them. But I just right now, with the way we're playing, Kathy, her loss is not going to be something that is going to bother. It shouldn't bother them against us.
That's right. Yeah. So talking about their team stats, they are 10th in the net and in her hoop stat. So here you go, talking about our gauntlet. We have the team that's ranked 8th in the net and 10th in the net that we have our next 2 games. So excuse me. And some of the team numbers that we have, they too put the ball in the hole at a pretty good clip, averaging 88.7 points per game. That's 11th in the nation. And on the flip side of it, same thing on the defensive end, only giving up 53.3 points per game, which is 15th in the nation. They're shooting the ball really well, 49% for field goal, which is 13%, 35.4% from 3 and 47th. They are only allowing other teams to shoot 34.2% from the field, which is good for 19th in the nation right now. Again, they're allowing a lot of 3-pointers, which is 30.3%, which is 191st. And if we didn't scare you enough with the 6 rebounding margin that Michigan State has, this one might be a little more concerning. Their total rebounding margin right now is plus 16. Which is 17th right now overall. They do give it up a little bit more in terms of turnovers than what we saw from Maryland, from Minnesota and Michigan State, 15.8 turnovers, but they're forcing 22.2. And the other number that jumped out to me, Jeff, for Maryland is they really share the ball. They are averaging around 18 assists per game, which is 22nd in the nation. Again, this is just like another recipe for all of our weaknesses going up against some of Maryland's strengths. And on top of it, it's going to be on the road as well. So again, I'm not quite sure how I see a path forward for us here, unless we, again, really quickly figure out a way to take care of the ball better and to rebound better. It's just going to sound like a broken record, I think, at this point, because those are our 2 glaring deficiencies. But what are your thoughts on going up to Maryland on Sunday, the January the 4th?
Right now, I feel pain coming. Pain coming because it's just Maryland was probably going to be a 15 to 20 point favorite in this game anyway. And last week, as you said, Kathy, the glaring weaknesses that showed up tonight have to at least be addressed before we get to Maryland and obviously Michigan State. But if we get out rebounded by 15, if we get out on the offensive glass, if we get out rebounded by 15 total, and we give up 20 turnovers, it's going to be a long game in College Park and against a very, very good team that's well coached. And, Brenda Freeze has been telling them that she's tired of losing games to IU because they, no offense, Maryland has that idea that they're kind of up here and the rest of the league to a certain degree is below them. Historically, that's kind of where they've been. IU had been for the last few years, 5, 6, 7 years, had been matching them. We finally got over that hump, beat them, had swept a couple, swept the season from them, and had become very, very competitive with what was seen as the gold standard of the league. I'm sure she's been like, it's time for us to reassert our dominance over this team. And this team that's coming in on that Sunday is going to be a team that's struggling more than likely. Don't give them any life. So we'll watch it, but it's not right now. I don't have much hope that I'm going to see anything better than what I saw tonight against an upper level team of the Big Ten.
Yep. Yeah. So Jeff, I had put some numbers in here. I'm not even going to go over them with her hoop stats right now. I think that we're going to see our net and everything probably is not going to go in a positive direction right now. And we're already down to 50th in the net. So why don't we play a little Bob Thompson music and we'll give our final thoughts and call it a show. All right. So final thoughts, Jeff, why don't you go first?
Has to be better. The tonight was unacceptable from effort, from focus, and it goes for everybody involved in the program, coaching staff down to the end of the bench. It was an unacceptable performance, and it's one that fans are not used to from this program. And secondly, it is something that has to be addressed and try to start fixing tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. I'll echo a lot of that. And you kind of touched on this earlier. This seems to me at it's a decision point for these players to get together and as well. I like your idea. I hope that we hear things coming out of, they had an all players meeting to start talking about this. And I understand we have a lot of injuries and stuff, but that still doesn't excuse, what we're seeing on the court with the errant passes or the missed passes or dribbling off somebody's foot. We almost had a near turnover alone when Maya Makalewski was running down the court and bumped into Shea Chesky, who was trying to bring the ball up. Like some of these things have nothing to do with energy. They have nothing to do with talent level. They have to do with focus, and it has to do with determination, really, rebounding, putting yourself in the right position, those types of things. And they really have to get this together. We've been kind of seeing these alarm bells for a while. We've been talking about these two same things for a while already. And we didn't know if it was something that was going to really, rear its ugly head once we got the conference play and the quality of the opponents really, really ratcheted up. Well, we're 2 games into the conference season now, and both of them are 20-point plus blowouts. So we have 2 games. I get small sample size, but it doesn't bode well for another 16 games yet to come. So hopefully the alarm bells are going off and they're having some sit downs and talking through it. But Jeff, for us up next though, and doing the work, Jeff and I are going to take a little trip out to California this week with hopefully a lot of you out there as well. But we will be back for you on Wednesday, January 7th. We will be talking about the Michigan State game and the Maryland games. And we'll have a big preview list in this one because we start getting into some fast and furious games because within just 1 week, we'll be playing Nebraska, Iowa, and Washington. So we'll try to do a little preview of those 3 teams. But if you want to see us do the show live and be part of the live chat, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@BackHomeNetwork. You can also be part of our private community. Find out more at assemblycall.substack.com. Special thanks to John Ringer of Riggs Design for designing our logo. A big thank you to Bob Thompson for the music you heard throughout the broadcast. And most of all, thank you all for listening with us tonight or after the fact. But we will be back to talk hoops with you again next week on January 7th. Your elbow in, your eyes on the rim, and let's go Hoosiers. All right. I don't even know if this is a, wash it away kind of thing. Like they really need to sit down and look at this tape and see what they can fix because they got to learn something from this before they just move on to the next game.
And the other thing is, if we're going to try to go with 8, this 8 isn't going to get it done. Not with not the current way they're currently playing. No. I wonder about, Faith Wiseman's been out now a good 4 games, 3, at least 3. And we're not even sure what's going on with her. And to your point, Chloe Spreen, not getting a single minute from her tonight is baffling as well. But we're down to 2 people in our front court between Noyan and Odiname. Just like we were so. And Oname's not it.
No, it's not. She has got a lot more development to do. And I'm sure that she wasn't supposed to be. I'm sure that was not in the plan this year for her to be getting as many minutes as she did tonight. But, she's out there and she's doing what she can. Yep. She's given some great effort. So at least kudos to her because she looks like she's trying really hard. She's just not there development wise that we're going to be able to get it done. So all around, outside of the 3 that led us in scoring tonight, like, we've got to find something else to hear. So, but anyway, positive note. I leave tomorrow morning bright and early. Our flight's at 6:35 out to California. So I am going to call it a night to everyone so I can finish packing and take a shower and all that good stuff since I'm up at 4:30. But I'm going to literally go wash this out of my hair, I think, at this point. So so hopefully, Jeff, we get to see you. And if anyone else that's listening is going out to California and you see us, definitely stop and say hi and introduce yourself. So do you leave Tuesday, Jeff, or when are you going out?
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning. All right. Well, safe travels.
Yeah. Hey, good night, everybody.
Good night.